with the Miami Heat versus Boston Celtics. And from my opinion, from watching this series so far, Game 4 was last night. Celtics tied it up 2-2. And from watching this series, I think Boston is the significantly better team. However, Miami is just one of the worst possible matchups for them across the entire league. Miami is one of the most physically tough and just best built teams out there. If we take a look at the stats in this series, points per game, Boston's outscoring them 112 to 109. Field goal percentage, Boston's beating them 48.5 to 46.5. Three-pointers made, Boston's beating them 43 to 31. And free throws made, Boston's beating them 68 to 58. Boston has beat them in all of the key stat categories in this series. Boston has more elite players, but they are not talented enough. They are not tough enough to mail it in, and Miami knows it. Miami may be limited, but they know it. They're aware of it. They're playing undrafted guys. They went the first two games without Kyle Lowry, had to go a half without Jimmy Butler. Miami knows they're limited. But Miami knows, since they know they're not the most talented team in the league, they're playing above the shoulders basketball, and they're winning. They're using their brain. They're using basketball IQ. They're using physical toughness. They are not out-talenting Boston in any way. They're outworking them. They have had bad quarters because they have limitations. They know that. We know that. Everyone knows that. But it borders bizarre to me that Boston, in a series tied 1-1, going into Game 3, Boston is a no-show in the first quarter at home. They had no intensity whatsoever. Not to mention, in this series, Boston clearly is getting all of the breaks. We already talked about it. Kyle Lowry was out Game 1 and Game 2. Jimmy Butler went out in the third quarter in Game 3 after only scoring 8 points, and his team was still able to win by 6 points. Boston has been getting all of the breaks, and we've seen time and time again teams take advantage of injuries. Back in the past, Golden State versus Houston a few years back, Houston was about to beat Golden State, and CP3 got injured. It changed the series. Golden State used it to their advantage. Toronto with Golden State in the NBA Finals a few years back. Golden State fell apart. Toronto, they used that to their advantage. Lowry was out the first couple of games, and Jimmy missed a half of basketball. And the Boston Celtics did not capitalize. They did not capitalize on the breaks they were given. Secondly, Miami, this whole season, the whole regular season, has been a phenomenal three-point shooting team. They, this entire postseason, have not shot the ball particularly well from three. And lastly, the Celtics purely have more good players. They shoot a higher field goal percentage. And as we talked about, Miami does not feel like a complete team. They have bad quarters. They are just beating the Boston Celtics with toughness right now, basketball IQ, and playoff experience. They're getting all the breaks and are losing due to Miami's toughness. They're losing due to above-the-shoulders play. This series for Boston, if they lose, is not just disappointing. It's a little bit of a disaster for them. We went over it. They've gotten the breaks in this series, and for years now, the Celtics have continued to come up short. You have these three great players with you. One of them being a top 10 player in the league, Jason Tatum. And they are not able to capitalize no matter how many times they get close, get to the Eastern Conference Finals. If they manage to lose this series, there's going to be trouble in Boston, and they're going to be singing songs about Jimmy B and the Heat down in Miami. Going on to the Western Conference Finals today, Dallas Mavericks versus Golden State Warriors. Golden State is now up 3-0. This is not, I will come on here, I will fully admit, this is not what I expected to happen in this series. You all remember what I said last episode. I thought Luka, the chosen one from overseas, I thought he was going to come in here and beat the Warriors the same way he beat the Phoenix Suns. My bets for Game 3, I was betting Mavs minus 1.5, over 218. The only one I got right was Luka, over 32.5 points. Dallas-Phoenix series, Dallas started off 0-2, came back, won games 3 and 4, but it is evident at this point that Dallas has no hope in this series. This looks to me like the Golden State of old. Both Game 2 and Game 3, they were down going into the third quarter, and they put up shots, got hot, and buried the other team in a matter of minutes, just like we would all have to sit there and watch happen to our favorite teams back in the day. My take from all of this, and you all have probably noticed at this point, not the biggest fan of Kevin Durant in the world, and I tend to think about him a lot when I see the Warriors situation. My take from this is, what must Kevin Durant be thinking right now? This is a guy, he's someone who uses burner accounts. We know that. He's got to inflate his ego a little bit on Twitter with fake accounts. He got eliminated in the first round, and we have seen now 3 seasons in a row, he's not a guy who can do it on his own. The whole Nets thing, this whole year, if you watch them play basketball, it never felt good. Kyrie Irving, no bench, a first-year head coach who shouldn't have been a head coach. The Nets were just not a solid team and not pretty to watch at all. And now the Warriors, KD's old team, are going to go to the NBA Finals and have everything. They have starters, they have the bench, they have culture, they have depth, they have talent, they have Steph. They have everything they could want. And now you watch him, and it's like, how much Kevin Durant is watching them, and it's like, damn, how much fun would it be to still play there? How much would we be winning right now if I would have just stayed and put my ego behind me? And then you go watch the Nets, and it's like torture out there on the court. KD every single night is carrying them. While it's a players' league, this is a very cautious tale of the grass is not always greener on the other side. Be careful on bailing on a Hall of Fame head coach, a Hall of Fame point guard, and a Hall of Fame culture. And the guy we really need to give credit to here is Steve Kerr, in my opinion. Steve Kerr, he was a great player. He was a great broadcaster. He's a Hall of Fame level head coach. And by the way, I think he is single-handedly one of the most smartest guys we have ever seen in this league. The fact that he has been able to keep this team together for as long as he has since they won their first title back in 2015. He was able to keep this team together. Brought in guys like Andrew Wiggins, on 25 other teams in the league would not have worked. Andrew Wiggins needed a good system to make him work, and he filled in to Kevin Durant's role somehow perfectly. Steve Kerr, Steph Curry are the best player-coach tandem in the league, and it's not even close. Bringing it all back to KD now. The Warriors have now won pre-KD. They've won during KD. And now they're likely headed to the NBA Finals post-KD. And in my opinion, they're going to win the NBA Finals. The Warriors are the best team left, without a doubt. So don't tell me that this does not bother Kevin Durant. Don't tell me this doesn't bother him with what we know about burner accounts and him running and him having an ego. Don't tell me this doesn't bother him. The Warriors are just so fun, they're so classy, and so aesthetically pleasing. It's just all about winning, which is what sports should be about. That's what the great organizations, that's what the dynasties are about. That's what Michael was all about. He was all about winning, and that's exactly what Steve Kerr, who played with Michael, brought into Golden State. A great culture, a Hall of Fame culture, and a culture that all they cared about was what it was winning, was getting back to the promised land. Before I get off the NBA and head over to the NFL, I want to give you all my Game 4 predictions for tonight's Warriors-Mavericks game. Tip-offs at 9 o'clock, and I already admitted I've been betting on the Mavs, and I guess I can't do it to myself anymore. They're down 0-3. I got to take today the Warriors plus 1.5. Even if they don't win, I think it's going to come down to like a last-second shot. And like we have been talking about, the Warriors are looking like the ones of old. The other bet for today is going to be the over-under, which is set at 215.5, which is 3 points lower than it was for Game 3 the other night. This is going to be the first time you guys have heard me say it in a few days, but I think the under is likely the right move here. Just feeling that way. Going to be a lower scoring game. Warriors plus 1.5, under 215.5 total.